The highway stretched empty in both directions, the moon trailing me like a quiet, watchful eye. I hadn't planned on stopping, but the neon sign blinking, "Marge's Diner, open all night," caught me just as my hands began to tremble on the wheel. After everything, with the divorce, with Melanie, with the house and the dog and the box of letters I couldn't throw away, maybe a cup of coffee would steady me. My name is Darren Case, and I should have kept driving. The parking lot was gravel, soft under the tires, and the diner looked plucked from another time. Chrome siding, red booths, windows fogged with warmth. It was nearly 1 a.m. when I pushed open the door. A bell jingled, soft and slow, like it hadn't been used in years. Inside, the air smelled like syrup and something older. A record played faintly, slow jazz, muffled like it was underwater. Only 2 other customers sat scattered in booths, both with untouched plates, faces hidden by the glare of overhead lights. "Sit anywhere you'd like, sugar," a voice called. She stepped out from behind the counter, wiping her hands on a towel. Her name tag read Delilah. She was beautiful, not in a glossy, polished way, in a familiar, intimate way. Auburn hair tied back, eyes dark and soft, a curve to her smile that made your secrets want to spill out. "You look like you could use something warm," she said. "Yeah, coffee would be great." "You always liked your coffee black, didn't you, Darren?" I froze. Have we met?" She laughed, low and honeyed. "I just have one of those faces. Let me get that for you." The coffee was perfect, hot, strong, a hint of something floral. She brought me a plate without asking. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, the color of my childhood. "How'd you know I liked this?" I asked. "You told me." "I've never." She touched my hand. Her skin was cold. "You needed comfort food. I could see it in your shoulders." She sat across from me, uninvited. Her fingers brushed the rim of my cup. "You're divorced now, right? How do you talk in your sleep. I haven't slept yet." She tilted her head. "Haven't you?" I ate, and with every bite, memories returned. Melanie's voice, the slam of the door, the dog barking, the silence afterward. I hadn't cried since the day the papers were signed, but sitting there, fork in hand, I felt tears pool. Delilah leaned in. "It's okay, I see you." She cupped my face. Her nails grazed my jaw. For a second, I wanted to kiss her. Needed to. A sound stopped me from the booth near the window. A sigh, like air escaping a balloon. I turned. The man was gone. Just an empty plate and a faint steam rising like breath. I looked at the second customer, an older woman in a coat too big for her frame. She stared at me, wide-eyed, shaking her head slowly. Delilah stood. "I should freshen your cup." She kissed the woman's forehead as she passed. The woman's eyes rolled back, her lips parted, her body slumped, and she vanished, just gone. I stood so fast the booth creaked. "What the hell?" Delilah touched my chest. "Shh, don't ruin it." I backed away. What are you?" She smiled. "Hungry." I ran to the register. My wallet trembled in my hand. I threw down bills. Delilah stood behind me already. "You don't owe anything. You already paid." She tucked something into my coat pocket. I shoved out the door. Air cold, wind sharp. My car wouldn't start. Not a click, not a spark. I walked, ran for miles, until sunrise found me slumped at a gas station bench. When I reached into my pocket, I found the note, folded, yellowed, my handwriting. "Don't feed her what she wants. She'll never stop." I stared at it. My voice caught in my throat. I tried to speak. Nothing. No sound, not a whisper. I drove home in silence. Weeks passed. People stopped recognizing me. My phone refused to take my voice commands. My dog barked at me like I was a stranger. At night, I dream of Delilah. Whispers behind chrome counters, the smell of meatloaf and perfume. Her mouth close to mine. "Give me more," she says. I wake up sweating and voiceless. I returned last night just to see. Marge's diner was gone, an empty lot, grass grown through gravel, but the wind carried jazz, and I swear from the trees I heard her call my name. But I couldn't answer. I don't have a voice anymore, just a hunger I don't understand. And sometimes when I pass mirrors, I see her standing behind me, smiling, waiting, because I fed her what she wanted. And now she's still so very hungry. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I don't remember the last time I truly slept. Maybe a week ago, maybe longer. The edges of the world had started to blur, like melting film reels stitched together by caffeine and paranoia. I'd been driving for a rideshare app nearly 16 hours a day, chasing surge zones and 5-star ratings, the glow of the phone screen burning behind my eyelids every time I blinked. My name is Marcus Ray, and I only stopped at the diner because I thought I might be dying. It appeared like a mirage off Highway 47. A rust-bitten sign above the roof buzzed weakly in red neon. Molly's, open 24 hours. The parking lot was empty, except for a vintage truck and a car I swear I'd seen before. I stepped out of my car, the door groaning like a tired animal. The air smelled like burnt coffee and fried grease, and it pulled me in like gravity. Inside, the diner was small, cozy, trapped in a different decade. Checkerboard tile, a row of red stools, jukebox humming softly with a looping saxophone ballad. A bell above the door jingled as I entered, and for a moment I felt something like peace. "Sit wherever you like," said the waitress behind the counter. She was in her 60s, pale blue uniform, hair pinned in a bun. Her name tag read, Molly. "Rough night?" she asked, pouring coffee without waiting for me to nod. Something like that. There were only 3 other customers. A man in a cowboy hat, reading the same newspaper over and over. A young woman twirling a milkshake straw, never drinking. And a couple locked in a silent stare, hands hovering over the table like they'd been frozen mid-argument. I sat in the booth by the window. The coffee tasted perfect, hot, bitter, slightly sweet. Molly brought over a plate of eggs and toast without me asking. "How'd you know?" I asked. She winked. "Most people like to start simple." The eggs sizzled exactly as they hit the plate. The toast crunched exactly as I bit into it. The jukebox skipped and started the same saxophone loop again. The second night, I came back. The same people, same clothes, same conversation. The couple mid-fight. The cowboy reading. Molly greeted me like I never left. "Long shift tonight, Marcus." I blinked. "How'd you know my name?" She smiled. "You told me yesterday." "I wasn't here yesterday." Her expression didn't change, but you were. The third night, I came without meaning to. I was driving downtown, and suddenly I was at Molly's. Coffee waiting, eggs hot, booth clean. The jukebox played, the customers didn't blink. I asked Molly how long the place had been open. She wiped a spot on the counter that didn't exist and said, "Long enough for you to forget you ever left." Sleep became meaningless. I'd nap in my car, wake up in the booth. I stopped checking the clock, the calendar. Each visit, the world outside faded more. My hands ached from lifting mugs. My reflection in the napkin dispenser started wearing the diner uniform. One night, Molly asked me to crack the eggs. "Just help out a little." "The grill's acting up." I nodded. The spatula felt natural. The sizzle soothed me. I worked the grill. I took orders. I served coffee. The cowboy nodded at me. The couple's hands finally touched. Molly disappeared. I searched the back. No staff. No kitchen beyond the grill, just looping hallways and windows that opened into darkness. When I returned, a man sat in my booth, wearing my jacket, my shoes. He looked like me, but brighter, rested, alive. He sipped coffee and smiled. "You always liked it simple," he said. I tried to speak, but the words stuck. I tried to leave, but the door led back to the counter. The jukebox played, the eggs cracked, the toast burned. Now I flip the grill. Now I smile and say, "Sit anywhere you like." And when the new ones come in, the tired, the lost, the sleepless, I pour their coffee before they ask. Because Molly's is open 24 hours, and some of us never leave. We just get used. Fuel for the tired, eggs for the forgotten. Time has to run somehow, and someone has to feed it. The first time I saw my name on the specials board, I thought it was a hallucination. I hadn't eaten in 3 days, hadn't slept in 2. The bottle of pills rattling in my coat pocket was a promise I hadn't made yet, but was ready to. I pulled off Highway 22 just after dusk, the sky split in half by purple clouds and the weak glow of neon. A rusted sign blinked, "Dale's Diner. Hot meals, warm hearts." My name is Aaron Heller, and I was supposed to die that night. The bell above the door jingled as I stepped inside. The place was empty, save for a few booths, occupied by shadows and a long counter lit with a yellow hush of nostalgia. The air smelled like buttered toast and burnt bacon, something from childhood that lived under the skin. Behind the counter stood a woman in a pale pink uniform, her hair tied in a tight roll, lipstick the color of bruised cherries. She smiled like she knew me. "Long night?" Something like that. "Sit wherever you like." I slid into a booth by the window, staring at the chalkboard above the register. "Today's special. Aaron Heller." I blinked, rubbed my eyes, but the name didn't change. The waitress walked over with a plate in her hand. I hadn't ordered, but it was perfect. An open-faced roast beef sandwich, mashed potatoes, gravy poured just right. The exact meal my mother used to make the night after report cards. I hadn't tasted that in 15 years. "How did you? You looked like you needed something warm." She poured coffee into a chipped white mug. It smelled like hope. I took a bite, and the grief slipped. For the first time in months I felt whole. I returned the next night, not out of curiosity, but because I felt alive. The sign outside buzzed again. "Tonight's special. Aaron." No last name this time. Same waitress, same smile. This time it was spaghetti and meatballs, exactly like Lana used to make on Sunday nights. The woman I let slip away. Every bite was warmth, laughter, her hands on mine. I didn't ask how they knew, I just kept eating. By the 4th visit, I stopped checking the board. I knew I'd be the special. But the portions got smaller, the food richer. One night I tasted gallery walls, soft applause, critic praise. Success I never had. It came in the form of coq au vin with a side of forgiveness. But each morning after, the world felt less. Sunlight dimmer, my hands colder, coffee tasteless, and my reflection faded. By the 7th night my voice trembled. "Where is this coming from?" I asked. The waitress looked at me with something between love and warning. "You're just hungry, sweetheart, and this place, it feeds what you crave." I stared at the mirror above the counter, my face barely there, just outlines, ghost glass. I made a decision. "I want something else," I said. "Something off menu." The diner went quiet. The lights dimmed, the jukebox, a static lullaby. She stopped wiping the counter. "You don't want to do that." "I do." She leaned close. Her perfume smelled like lavender and rot. "You can't crave what was never yours." But the kitchen hissed. Steam rose. and a plate emerged, untouched by human hands. Lobster risotto, gold leaf, a glass of wine older than the world. The taste was heaven. The taste was everything. I saw my name in lights, a woman I never met falling in love with me, children with my eyes. A life unearned, unlived, undeserved. And I wept. As the last bite slid down my throat, the room shook. The waitress said nothing, only placed a cloth over my side of the booth. Morning came. The bell jingled. A man entered. Lost, hollow-eyed, he sat where I once sat, stared at the chalkboard. Today's special, Elliot Fay. Behind the counter, the waitress smiled and wiped a booth no longer occupied, where the plate still steamed and a name was being carved into the specials board. Deep, dark, permanent, just below mine. It was supposed to be a quiet visit, a long overdue return to a town I'd spent most of my life trying to forget. I hadn't been back to Willow Creek in over a decade, not since the accident. But something about fall always brought it back. The way the leaves turned to fire, the smell of rain in old gutters, the hum of low radios in corner diners. My name is Lydia Hart, and I came home to see what was left of my past. I didn't expect the diner to be waiting. Harper's Diner sat exactly where it always had, at the end of Main Street, pressed between a shuttered bookstore and a faded hardware shop. Its sign still flickered, the old yellow bulbs buzzing with sleepy nostalgia. Harper's, home of the pie. The inside hadn't changed. Same checkerboard floor, same faint smell of frying oil and cinnamon. The same faint drone of a radio that always seemed tuned to a station that only played late-night sad songs. The only thing that drew me in more than the smell was booth 6. It was in the far back corner, next to the window that used to fog up on cold mornings. We sat there every Sunday after church, my dad with his eggs over easy, Mom sipping black coffee, and my little brother Jack, always sneaking a second milkshake when he thought no one was looking. The accident took all of them, and left me. I didn't remember much from that night. Just a flash of headlights, the spin, the scream, and waking up alone in a hospital bed with no one left to tell me how it ended. I sat in booth 6, my hands flat against the cool formica. The seat across from me felt warm. I turned. No one there. "Didn't think we'd see you again," said a voice. I looked up. The waitress. Same woman from before, olive apron, crow's feet deepened, but still kind. "Do I know you?" I asked. She laughed softly. "Of course you do, Lydia. I've been serving you and your folks since you were knee-high." "My folks?" She gestured toward the front. "Your parents still come in every Sunday, like clockwork." The next time I came in, I noticed it again. Booth 6 was always empty, until I sat down. Then the radio would change. A voice, my mother's voice, hummed a lullaby I hadn't heard since childhood. One customer whispered, "Lydia, sit up straight," in my father's tone. A fork clinked on a plate and I heard Jack giggle. But the diner was empty. I started visiting nightly. My memories wavered. Sometimes I was the youngest, sometimes I was the mother. Sometimes I couldn't remember their faces at all. I asked the waitress what happened the night they died. She just said, "You tell me." I stopped sleeping. My reflection in the windows thinned, paled. I felt like booth 6 was feeding on me. One night I sat down and found a napkin already on the table. A note, scrawled in my own handwriting. It wasn't an accident. The booth grew colder. Time slowed. The shadows deepened, and I saw them, my family, flickering, translucent, trapped in a loop of laughter, forks, and coffee sips. Jack looked at me. "You were driving." "Dad, you saw the deer." "Mom, you closed your eyes." I remembered. The truth hit like ice. I'd been arguing with Mom, fighting about college, about leaving. I wasn't looking. I drove them into the ditch. I sobbed in booth 6, alone but not. "Is that what you wanted?" I asked. The waitress sat across from me. "No, Lydia," she said softly. "It's what you needed to admit." I stood to leave, but the door was gone. Only the booth, the radio, the smell of warm pie. "You can't leave," she said. "Not until someone else takes your place." My hands faded. The window stopped showing my reflection. And somewhere out on the highway, I know a traveler is looking for comfort. They'll see the sign, smell the pie, find booth 6, and I'll serve them with a smile. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.